Hello friends, this is Jay Hendricks with Powerful Thought Online. Today, as a fellow student with you, I wanted to talk with you about why Leo GURA is Peter Pan, king of the Lost Boys. First off, in the spirit of brotherhood, I love Leo GURA and want him to be liberated. Specifically, of psychedelic delusions brought on by premature exposure to higher states of consciousness. My comparison of Leo GURA to Peter Pan is somewhat playful and somewhat serious because of his position of responsibility. He has a debatable amount of followers, and hopefully most of those followers think for themselves. If they all think for themselves, then this video is null and void. The comments I read in his videos, though, indicate a lot of pining over Leo and accepting all he says as fact. This video is an attempt to break people out of that trance. So just stop pining over Leo. It's a little weird. Okay? So what is the story of Peter Pan, and what does it symbolize? Well, there's a great Jordan Peterson video on the Peter Pan story. I will put a link to it in the description below. It's called Jordan Peterson, The Tragic Story of the Man-Child. This video perfectly describes Leo GURA and his hardcore followers, who are symbolized by the Lost Boys. Here's a breakdown to the Jordan Peterson video. Peter Pan is a magical boy that won't grow up. Pan, in Greek mythology, is the god of everything and infinite potential. Children are filled with infinite potential. The same infinite potential that Leo GURA constantly worships and refuses to let go of. In Peter Pan's eyes, Captain Hook represents adulthood. Adults are considered hook-adorned tyrants who are chased by the crocodile of time. And therefore, time wastes away when you are an adult. To apply this, I have been criticized by Leo's hardcore followers that I am wasting time talking about things I can't understand, and that there is no use in trying to understand. Perhaps to them, I am like Captain Hook, and I wouldn't be surprised. I am like a villain, let's say. Peter Pan and the Lost Boys, viewing Captain Hook as the symbol for adulthood, choose to not grow up, choose to not face pain and suffering of relationships and life, to not have kids, to not get married, for none of these things really matter. One of the most stark representations of this disconnect from genuine relationships is in one of Leo's latest videos. He describes one of his trip experiences where he's high on psychedelics, sitting in the bathtub, looking at his porn collection, crying over his realization that the porn images are actually him, and masturbating to himself. This is not a relationship. This is not love. This is not even self-love. It is Leo's masturbatory pseudo-enlightenment at its finest. It is the result of refusing to grow up and accept the fact that others exist outside of you and your delusions. It is the objectification of others and yourself simultaneously. To continue with Jordan Peterson's video, Peter Pan sacrifices a real relationship with a woman to instead be the king of the Lost Boys. Wendy is a real person. She accepts her mortality and her maturity. Peter Pan has to content himself with Tinkerbell, who is, as Jordan Peterson describes her, the fairy of porn. She is a fantasy. She doesn't exist. This is a perfect tie-in to Leo's description of masturbating to the illusions that are himself. The Tinkerbell delusion is substituted for the real thing, the real relationship, which is with a real person named Wendy. Maturity is about sacrificing the realm of infinite potential and choosing limited actuality. It is ironic that Leo's program is called actualize.org, when what awaits you at the end of his program is the pot of gold of infinite potential. It starts off helping to actualize you, but then breaks you apart into nobody. Individuality and collaborating with others is denied. Jordan Peterson continues that you can either choose your limitation or let it take you unaware when you're 30, or even worse, when you're 40. He then warns that if you let that happen, it will not be a happy day. Then Peterson makes this very important distinction. If you go and adopt an apprenticeship or a practice of some kind, and at least become something actual, you can experience the magic of childhood and infinite potential through that chosen actualized limitation. This is what Jung described as the expert rediscovering the childhood left behind while apprenticing. If you become a journeyman plumber or a licensed doctor, etc., you can now free yourself up and be a pillar to your community by serving others, saving lives, teaching other people, running a business, etc. It may be that actualize.org helps with this process, but Leo's later videos end up throwing the baby out with the bathwater. It likely helps you actualize, but then his later videos deny your individuality and entice you to dwell in the realm of infinite potential without an actualized individuality. If you dispense with free will, like Leo GURA wants you to, you cannot choose anything actual, and you become a lost boy in Neverland. So to grow up and become an adult, here are some ideal suggestions. Number 1, exercise your free will and become something useful. Number 2, know that individual people are real. Become selfless and develop your relationships. Number 3, collaborate with other individuals to build a better world. Number 4, protect free will when it is challenged or suppressed. Number 5, do not avoid pain and suffering. Try to embrace it, love it, and process through it. Number 6, protect your individuality and integrate it with the world. And finally, number 7, know that true love is ultimately a liberating force of good. That's all for today. Please like and subscribe, click the notification tab, and share these videos if you can. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.